Now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas! 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 Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here as always on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade JJ Williams, and we're rolling through our Salute to Scrooge week here this week. And we're going to kick off the first official telling of A Christmas Carol that we're going to cover, 1935's Scrooge, starring Sir Seymour Hicks, Donald Calthorpe, Mary Glynn, Robert Cochrane, Oscar Ashe, C.V. France, Marie Ney, Philip Frost, and Claude Rains. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me here once again for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. As I said in the introduction, today we're going to officially kick off our Salute to Scrooge week. Yes, yesterday we discussed The Man Who Invented Christmas, the story of how Charles Dickens came up with A Christmas Carol. But today, we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of the stories themselves. And we have 7 different versions of the story we're going to look at over the course of the week. So the synopsis, which I am going to do every day, for those of you who may not be tuning in to every single episode and are just picking your favorite Scrooges to watch, it may come off as a little bit redundant because it's going to be very repetitive. There are some minor detail changes over the course of each episode, of each telling of the story, but on a whole, it's going to be the same story. So I apologize for that in advance, but let's get into 1935's Scrooge, starring Sir Seymour Hicks. And our movie opens on Christmas Eve in the year 1843, as Ebenezer Scrooge, a cold-hearted and greedy elderly moneylender, is working in his freezing count house along with his suffering, underpaid clerk, Bob Cratchit. 2 businessmen arrive to try and collect a donation from Scrooge for the poor, but the old man responds that prisons and workhouses are sufficient enough resources to deal with the poor population. Scrooge catches Bob trying to take some coal, but he warns him that he will be out of a job if he doesn't go back to work. A visit from Fred, Scrooge's nephew and sole living relative, only incites further annoyance, with Scrooge refusing to dine with him and his wife, even going as far as to claim that Christmas is a humbug. That night after work, Bob goes home in order to celebrate the holidays with his family, while Scrooge dines alone at a seedy pub, while the lords and ladies of London celebrate with the Lord Mayor of London. At home, Scrooge encounters the ghost of his 7-year dead partner, Jacob Marley, who wears a chain that he forged in life from his own wicked career. Marley goes on to tell Scrooge that he will be haunted by 3 spirits over the course of the night in order to try and escape his fate. That night, just as Marley warned, Scrooge is haunted by the ghost of Christmas past, who shows Scrooge when he lost his fiancée due to his greedy nature towards others, including a debt-ridden couple. Scrooge then sees that his ex-fiancée, Belle, is now married and has many children. The next spirit, the ghost of Christmas present, shows Scrooge just how poor Bob and his family really are, as they have a meager Christmas dinner of goose and pudding. The spirit then tells Scrooge that unless the future changes, Tiny Tim, the youngest son of Bob Cratchit, who is ill, will die. Scrooge then proceeds to see how others keep Christmas before seeing Fred celebrate with his wife and friends. The ghost of Christmas yet to come then shows Scrooge what lies in store for the following year. Scrooge discovers that Tim is dead and that the man that was robbed and spoken of by some of his businessman associates was himself after seeing his own grave. Scrooge returns a changed and generous person. He orders a turkey for Bob and his family, gives a healthy donation to the two men from the day before, and has Christmas dinner with his nephew Fred. The following day, Scrooge raises Bob's wages and gives him the entire day off, telling him that he will be a godfather of sorts to Tim before the two attend church together. The congregation sings "Hark the Herald Angels Sing" as they enter, and our movie comes to its end. I will go as far as to say that this version that I'm watching and talking about today, out of all the ones that I'm going to cover this week, was the hardest to get through, mainly because of its very slow pace. I feel like every version that came after this kind of saw the foundation that was laid out here and then tried to pick the pace up in certain areas. Because there's a lot of this one that drags. It's just a sign of the times. We're talking 1935. The one we're going to discuss tomorrow was only 3 years later, but it's leaps and bounds when it comes to technology and the time period and everything. It's like a 10-year jump at least, when in reality it's only 3. But I did enjoy Sir Seymour Hicks as Ebenezer Scrooge. I thought he did a great job. Definitely set a good standard, a good bar for everyone to try to at least reach, if not improve beyond. It was an enjoyable story, though. I'm a huge fan of A Christmas Carol already, or else I would not be devoting an entire week to essentially the same movie. But you think about it, and there's so many versions of this story out there. We literally could do an entire week of A Christmas Carol every December for at least the next 5 years. There's just that many versions of it out there: live action, animated, CGI, etc. It's the timeless Christmas tale. It really is. So much so that even in some of the other mainstream movies, you always find Christmas Carol-esque elements and Scrooge-like characters. It's just the way it is, even when they're not tellings of A Christmas Carol. The biggest surprise to me in this was the uncredited appearance of Claude Rains as the voice of Jacob Marley, because in this one, you don't see Marley. In every other telling that I've ever seen, you physically see a person as Jacob Marley. This one you didn't. You just heard Marley. And I found it funny and ironic that it was Claude Rains as the voice of Marley, being as how 2 years prior, Claude Rains was the Invisible Man. Just a voice a lot of the time. A man wrapped in bandages, hidden. Here he's the voice of Marley. Can't see him. So I thought that was a fun little Easter egg at the end of the day, when Easter eggs weren't even really a thing in movies. But to have the man who played the Invisible Man play a ghost who you can't see here, just hear, his voice is one of those that's undeniable of the era. You know the voice of Claude Rains when you hear it. I enjoyed it. Is this going to make it into my watch list every year when I do A Christmas Carol? Probably not, if I'm being honest. There are other versions, other tellings of this story that I do enjoy more, but I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 stars. I feel like it's a good place to start my rankings of A Christmas Carol. You figure they're only going to get better from here. But I think its biggest flaw is something that's not its fault at all. Its biggest flaw is its time. Being a film from 1935, and while I do enjoy a lot of classic cinema from the 30s and stuff, and even silent films from the 20s, as I discussed last year during Halloween when I talked about films like Nosferatu and the Lon Chaney versions of Phantom of the Opera and Hunchback of Notre Dame. I just feel like being a film of its time frame and the slow build, the more drawn out storytelling, which again surprises people, I'm sure, because I'm a fan of long term storytelling. But when you're used to seeing the movie move at a quicker pace and the story flow a little bit better, seeing it drag like it does in this one kind of stings a little bit. So 3 out of 5 stars for me when it comes to the 1935 Sir Seymour Hicks telling of A Christmas Carol. What do you guys think? Those of you that have seen this version, let me know if you're watching the premiere. Leave your thoughts and comments over here. If you're watching on demand later in the day, leave your thoughts and comments down here. Let's have that conversation, that discussion, that debate, that interaction that I'm always asking you guys for in the comments below. And make sure you guys tune in tomorrow, right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. And we'll be taking a look at our second of 7 tellings of A Christmas Carol. This one starring Reginald Owen as Ebenezer Scrooge, along with Jean Lockhart, Kathleen Lockhart, Terry Kilburn, Barry McKay, Lynn Carver, June Lockhart, Leo G. Carroll, Lionel Bram, Ann Rutherford, and Darcy Corrigan. And then at the top of the hour after that, it'll be time once again to open the doors for Stat Boy Sports Bar. The food is hot, the beer is ice cold, and the seats are warm. So pull up a bar stool and engage in some professional sports talk as we move closer to the NFL playoffs. And then later on that evening, the flagship is back, baby. Talk Wrestling will be live with your host, Jeff Meacham, on the Jeff Meacham Network, the Casa D18 Studios channel, NoDQ.com, the Greg Cherry brand, and all across the Jeff Meacham Network multiverse of media. You're not going to want to miss out on that. Right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, on Renegades Reviews, on Statboy Sports Bar, on the flagship Talk Wrestling, across the multiverse of media. So much in store for you over the course of this week and the rest of the month. So make sure and stay tuned. And make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure that notification bell is turned on so you don't miss out anytime a video drops right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel or anytime we go live, as is the case with Open Mic Night, Statboy Sports Bar, pay-per-view PLE coverage, etc. Share these videos with your family, friends, loved ones, coworkers, movie fanatics, cinephiles in your life, fans of Charles Dickens, fans of Sir Seymour Hicks, fans of Claude Rains, fans of the story of A Christmas Carol or the character of Ebenezer Scrooge. Anybody you can think of that would enjoy this content in this video, share it with them. It's the only way we're going to boost up visibility into YouTube's algorithms for me. That way I can eventually get monetized, make some money on these videos. Thank you once again to everyone who joined me and tuned in today. It means more to me than you'll ever know. And I will see you guys next time.